So hey everybody, we're here today talking about World War III. If you don't know, World War III is a multiplayer FPS game set in a fictional World War III universe made by the Farm 51 on the Unreal Engine 4? Yeah, it's on 4, I believe. And this game gets compared to Battlefield a lot. And while there are some similarities to Battlefield, I always think of this game as much closer to Homefront in theory. Not the Deep Silver Dambuster Studios. Was it Dambuster Studios? I forget. That made the Homefront that was like a Far Cry clone. No, I'm talking about the original Homefront made by Chaos Studios, who also made Frontlines Fuel of War. And the reason I compare it to, you know, Homefront a lot is because the kill streaks. This game has kill streaks. Where you have where tanks are accessed through getting points, or you want an airstrike, you need to get points. You want to call in radar, it's points. Sort of like Call of Duty's. Like, it's kind of Homefront was kind of this midpoint between Call of Duty and Battlefield, which is really which was really cool, and I that's why I compared this game to it a lot. Even though I don't think Farm 51 wants to be compared to Call of Duty too much. But yeah, this game is in early access and it has a lot of problems. Now they're slowly fixing all the problems, but these are just some problems and balance issues that I think need changed or gone over in the future. Now, I'm no game developer, though I did sort of help make a game, but we're not going to talk about that. But these are just some kind of balance changes and kind of additions I'd like to see. So, we're going to talk about weapon balance first, because weapons, your guns in your game, are the most important thing to a first person shooter. Obviously, to the player, there's obviously things going on behind the scenes with the devs. But yeah, there's two weapon categories I think need a balance looking at. One is the SMGs. Two is the light machine guns, the LMGs. So, the SMGs. There's four SMGs in the game. The SIG, which I regard as the best SMG in the game because it has no downsides. The DMG, which I think is only good if you can get a lot of attachments on it, but then it becomes really good. The Vitjazz, which is like a SIG, but slightly worse, except you can put a drum on it. And then you have the Glaubert. The Glaubert, in my opinion, is useless. It just sits there in the SMG category. I never see anybody use it. You always see SIGs, DMGs, SIGs and DMGs. Sometimes you'll see a Vitjazz, but the Glaubert, I think, is so useless. Because it's supposed to be the powerhouse SMG. Sort of like, I guess, the MP40 in Call of Duty World at War, or like the UMP in MW2. The Glaubert isn't useful. It says it's supposed to be the powerhouse SMG, yet I found that it doesn't kill very fast, nor does it seem to do more damage than the other ones. Like, the description, like I said, says it's a powerhouse, but if you compare its damage numbers, at least according to the numbers given to the other SMGs, it's not doing much more damage than the other ones. And this is especially a problem because it has only 15 rounds stock, which is less than every other SMG. And if you upgrade it, the upgraded magazine is only 25, which is still less than some of the other SMGs. The SIG has, 30 stock. The Glaubert, I think, is like, so it doesn't feel like a primary weapon. It doesn't feel like you'd put this on an SMG class. This feels like, oh, I've run out of ammo with my sniper rifle. I'll have this. It feels like a pistol replacement rather than a true SMG, at least the way it's balanced right now. Because it's really, really bad versus armor, it says, especially steel armor. If you read the little thing, it says you need 15 rounds to kill someone with steel armor. That's an entire stock magazine into the gun, into the person. So Unlocking a lot of the stuff for the Glaubert, which is basically just playing with it and earning credits to buy the stuff, there's only two ways to play this gun that I found. One is to hide around a corner, aimed lower than the plate, lower than where the armor would be, right? And hope that you kill them. Or it is to do a flank and hope that you come up behind people. Now, I'm not saying that you can't get kills with the Glaubert, because, I've even managed to get a triple kill with the Glaubert. Don't know how. It was basically down to luck. But compared to how the other SMGs operate, the the Glaubert I think is just so useless. Because like I said, the SIG is just I think the best because it's kind of good at everything. The DMG is your close range bullet hose kind of gun. The Vitez is like, oh, I don't like the SIG, so I'm gonna use something slightly different. Or it's like, hey, I want the SIG but with a drum magazine, because they're very similar in my opinion, at least in terms of how they play. So yeah, like I said, I'm not a dev. I'm not really a pro player. I'm just like, I just play the game. So on to the next category of weapons, the light machine guns. Now, none of the light machine guns are bad. There's three. There's the bullpup. I forget the name. PKM bullpup, Peschenig bullpup, some kind of bullpup. There's the UKM, and there's the MG3. So none of these light machine guns are bad. You're actually good with any of them. However, one of the problems with the light machine guns, or not the MG3, the MG5. The MG3 is different. But one of the problems with the light machine guns, at least I find, or the problem I have with them, is that they feel like assault rifles with giant magazines. They don't feel like light machine guns to me. I don't know. I've never fired a light machine gun. I don't know if the devs, that's how the devs want them to be, but they, like I said, they just feel like machine gun. They just feel like assault rifles with really big magazines. And the problem is that they have no downsides besides a long reload. Like, you can use them in close range, you can use them medium range, you can use them long range. There's no downside to using the light machine gun other than you run slower, which isn't like a huge problem. I mean, yeah, you're technically running slower, so you're easier to hit. But in most scenarios, like you can use any of the light machine guns at any range. I mean, like the UKM's a little bit difficult, but if you use the MG5, I would say especially shows the problem I have with them. You you can use the MG5 at any range. Like it's the most kind of assault rifle like of them. Like the PK bullpup is also kind of like that, and the UKM's the least, but they all still kind of just feel like assault rifles with giant magazines. Now, I don't really know what you do to solve this. I mean, like, I guess one way is making them not be able to be shouldered, but I don't think that's the right solution, because like that's kind of a weird balancing thing that goes back all the way to Call of Duty 3. Call of Duty 3 had it where you couldn't shoulder your light machine guns. Then Verdun had that, and uh, Battlefield 5 took it for their medium machine guns. But like I said, I don't really know what you do. Maybe give them more recoil and make them longer to shoulder. Not really sure. Like I said, I'm not really sure how you change the balance of the light machine guns. So that's the weapon categories out of the way. I was gonna talk about sniper rifles, but I think they're okay right now. So the next thing I have on my list is there's a lot of buttons in this game. Now, I don't really play multiplayer first-person shooters on PC, but I think this game might show why I don't really. Now, I don't really play. I play games on PC, but I'm not really a first-person shooter player on PC. A lot of my, or I should say, I'm not a multiplayer first-person shooter guy on PC. All of my multiplayer shooters are on console. I play a lot of single player games on my PC, but I've noticed that with this game, there's a lot of buttons because you have the normal WASD, crouch, prone, jump. Then you also have your equipment selection of, and then you have your kill streak kind of point streak selection, and then you have your squad commands. And if you're the squad leader, you have another command. And then when you get into a vehicle, there's another button. There's more buttons. I mean, yeah, they get replaced and they get switched out, but there's a lot of buttons in this game. And like I said, I don't really think that you can change that. I think it's just the nature of PC games. Um, like I said, it's just a problem I have. So this next little bit is going to be a suggestion. Again, talking about from Homefront. But there was a particular thing Homefront did that I thought was really cool, and I don't think it's been implemented in other multiplayer FPS, and that is the Battle Commander. What the Battle Commander is, it is an AI thing that will command your team, sort of in a way, but not really. Basically, the Battle Commander would point out this I forget what it was called, priority threat. Priority threat, and if some player was doing really good, it would call them a priority threat, and it would basically put a star on their head, and some people around, some enemies around them would see that star, and if you killed him, you got more points. However, you might thinking, oh, that's just punishing good players, but no, because the higher your priority threat, the more bonuses you would get. You would get like more ammo. You would get like, I think, faster health regen, if I remember. I remember there was like multiple levels priority threat, so like the higher you got, the more benefits you got, but then also more people would be assigned to kill you. So it created this really neat system. It was kind of a way to prevent camping. I think honestly one of the best ways I've ever seen to prevent camping. Um, I don't know, I'd like to see that implemented in this game. I think it was just a really cool system, and just like, hey, this guy's getting tons and tons of kills. You should take him out. I think that was a really cool thing. Oh, and the last thing on this list is bugs. Bugs need fixed. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them in the game. Like I had a pretty funny one where somehow my guy tried to load his med bag into the gun. Like it was a rather funny clip. And then there's another one that came up recently where if I'm in a vehicle, especially any of the tanks, not so much the APCs, but mainly the tanks. If I'm in someone's tank, right, and it gets hit by an RPG, my game will crash. I've had that happen a couple times now. Now my PC isn't the greatest, so I can't really speak of performance too much. But there's a lot of stuttering and like random FPS drops in this game. So yeah, I know my PC isn't the greatest. I mean, it's a GTX 960, 4 gig, AMD FX 6300, 16 gigabytes of RAM, and just a standard 1 terabyte hard drive. I know it's like, kind of low end-ish now, but I don't know. Just I notice a lot of people. There's just these random drops in frame rate, and not like little drops. Like when I'm not recording, I get like 60 to 80 FPS in this game, which is amazing, right? But it will suddenly just drop down to 30 and then go back up randomly. And especially when recording, this happens a lot because this game's very CPU intensive and not very GPU intensive. So yeah, that's another one of the kind of problems. Oh well, I really hope Farm 51 fixes it and maybe looks over some of the weapon balance. All right, I'll see you later. Bye.